And we are live for another edition of the All Gas No Break Sports Show. I am one of your co-hosts, Nicholas Pavona, joined alongside, as always, by my co-host Andrew Johnson. Well, Johnson, it looked like going through into this week, we might have had a good feeling as to who was going to be in this year's college football playoff. And then week 13 pretty much threw a big wrench into what all of our plans were going to be for this upcoming holiday and for the upcoming college football playoff. A lot of huge upsets happening, a lot of now big major movement as well in the college football playoff rankings. Those were just revealed an hour ago as of tonight on November 26th. So a lot to break down on the show in terms of the upsets that we saw, some conference standings now in terms of what the scenarios are going into this weekend, and also breaking down the new top 25 polls that we just released an hour ago.
Another week of college football, another week of me ruining my sports betting record. It's been horrific this year.
Well, you know what? You did warn the people last week to fade you.
I've been warning them since week 6.
That is also true. But if you definitely faded him last week,
you made a lot of money.
Congrats. Yeah, congrats. Yeah, I don't even know what to say. This was just an unexpected wild week because I don't think a lot, like maybe you could have seen maybe one or two upsets happening this past weekend. The fact that we had maybe four happen, like it was 4 or 5 that were out of
multiple
upsets. Yeah, like that's where I'm saying and they're very much welcome. You never know. Maybe this upcoming weekend there might be a couple more in store for us. So whatever the rankings are now, nothing is still set in stone for this entirety of the college football season. And I guess let's start it off by talking about what happened with one of the SEC upsets that happened this past weekend. And nowhere better to start than what happened in Norman, Oklahoma, between Oklahoma and Alabama.
Absolute shocker here as as Oklahoma just handles business. They proved everyone they belong in the SEC by taking down long-time, almost like, how can I even describe Alabama at this point? But long-time stalwart of the SEC. Feels like they've run the conference.
Yeah, they're the measuring stick.
Years.
They're the measuring stick.
And they didn't just beat them; they dominated Alabama. It wasn't even a close game. Just absolute domination from horn to horn here.
I mean,
whistle to whistle.
Yeah, Oklahoma was phenomenal on both sides of the ball. I mean, they ran for 250 yards as a team. Jackson Arnold had 131 yards rushing of those 257. Xavier Robinson had another 107. Jalen Milroe struggled in this game as well. He threw 3 interceptions. Bama could have run the ball as well. And now they're on the outside looking into the college football playoff after this previous ranking that just happened.
Yeah, so still realistic possibility a 3-loss Alabama team makes it to the CFP.
Yeah, there's still a realistic possibility. But keep in mind, with this loss, they now officially eliminate themselves from the SEC championship game. That now is down to 3 teams. Going into the week, it was pretty much a 6-team race, it looked like, for the SEC. Now it's down to 3 teams, basically after what happened on Saturday, and this being one of the biggest results of that happening. And as both of you and I mentioned now, Bama obviously can't lose this upcoming Saturday. They have to win the Iron Bowl, but that still might not even be enough for them to make the college football playoff this season. They're going to probably need a team or two, or I shouldn't say a team or two. They more than likely will need a team or two to lose to even make the CFP this year.
So I think there's one team in particular that's going to lose this weekend, but I'll save my predictions to the end. Yeah.
Okay. I think I know who it is. Yep. I think I know who it is. I'm not going to say it. I could be completely wrong.
That's all I'm going to say.
I think I know who you're talking about. So I'll save it for now. But this has been a growing concern for Bama all season. Their defense has had their ups and downs. Their offense have been fine for the majority of the year, and their offense just looked flat in this game. And at a worst possible time for them to fall flat, because now you don't even control your own destiny at this point to even make the CFP. So that's where it gets really worse for this team. But as I mentioned, Johnson, they weren't the only SEC team now to lose this past week and not even control their own destiny as in terms of the SEC championship and the college football playoff. Ole Miss, they fall in Gainesville this past weekend, 24-17. I had mentioned that this was a game to look out for, that maybe Ole Miss could fall in this game, and that was indeed the case. Jackson Dart really struggled in this game through a couple interceptions, especially late in the fourth quarter when Ole Miss had a chance to tie the game. DJ Lagway looked pretty solid for the Gators in this game. And despite the tough schedule that Florida had this season, they're actually able to make a bowl game this year. They're now bowl eligible. There's a lot of good things now being said about the Gators, considering that a couple months ago, everyone was calling for Billy Napier's head. Now he's pretty much locked himself for another season with the Gators, and they're probably a team to look out for now in the transfer portal this upcoming offseason to see if they make some moves to contend in the SEC. But of course, Johnson, the big story now for Ole Miss, they fall in the polls. They now have no control of their own destiny as well in the college football playoff. They're going to need probably 3 or 4 teams to lose to even have an opportunity to make the CFP this season.
Yeah, Ole Miss is cooked outside of complete anarchy here. I'd probably give them a 2 to 3% chance of making it at this point. So we could set them aside. But from one last time, when I say Jackson, you say Dart. Jackson.
Why would I say it after this game?
Ah, well, I tried. I tried, folks.
You weren't going to make me say it after this game.
I tried. I can't say. You know what? I'm going to bed later. I'm going to say. You know what? I tried.
You gave it your best shot. I'll give you that. Yeah, I mean, what do you? There's just nothing else you can more say. It was just one of those wacky Sundays, but Sunday was also wacky in the NFL. It was just one of the wackier Saturdays that we've had in college football with this happening. Because, like I mentioned, Ole Miss is going to need like 2, 3, 4 teams to lose. Like, they're not even the first team out. They're not even the second team out. They're technically the third team out of the college football playoff rankings. So they can't even make the SEC championship game. So they have to get an at-large bid to even make the CFP this season. And that looks pretty highly unlikely because they're playing Mississippi State to end their season. So it's not a game that's going to help them move up in the standings. They need help outside of that to even have any hope for them for the next couple weeks. But Johnson, unfortunately, it still wasn't the only upset we had in the SEC this past week. A rough loss for Texas A&M on the road at Auburn in a game in which Texas A&M was down 21 points. They fought all the way back.
It made me believe.
They fought all the way back to tie the game. They even took the lead in the fourth quarter. The game would go into overtime, and that's where the difference was in this game, unfortunately, for Texas A&M. It looked like they were running their own version of a Philly special, and I think it was in quadruple overtime, if I'm not mistaken. It was a great play call. Everything was perfect. The beforehand play, like they got everything right. They had the guy wide open, and unfortunately, the pass was dropped. It wasn't fully executed, and that's unfortunately how Texas A&M loses this game. They drop 43-41 to the Auburn Tigers. The only saving grace for them, Johnson, is they do fall in the polls. The only thing that can save them now is now it's more imperative than ever. They have to beat Texas this upcoming weekend. If they do, they'll be in the SEC championship game, and if they win the SEC championship, they will be in the college football playoff this season.
Yeah, it's a must-win game now because, like what you just said right here.
I don't even know if them beating Texas would. I don't know if I don't want to say if that's the case. Yeah, go ahead.
If A&M beats Texas at home, I think you put A&M at 10 and you put Texas at 11. And you think they sets up the rub? Yeah, then I think they're going to drop that much.
I don't know if my problem is I don't know if they would move A&M to the top 12 because they dropped to 20. Like, you think they go up 8 spots with a win?
I think they do.
I don't know. I feel like they'd be like one of the first or second teams out still, even if they get the win.
All right, so you put them at 13 or 14 then. I mean,
and then you have to win the SEC. Yeah,
right
and then you have to win the SEC title.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're in a position where they have to win the SEC title now. But what I'm saying is, if they win this game, they get to 12, and then they win the SEC title. They probably go to like 9 or 8.
Right. If they win the SEC title, then depends. If they win the SEC title, then they could be one of those first 4 teams to get a bye. That's also the case too, because if they, you knock off Texas, then Georgia. So, like, here's for example. So Texas right now is the projected 2 seed because of the SEC. If they beat Texas, then Georgia would be the projected 2 seed. And then they beat Georgia, then then they could be projected 3 or 4, hell, maybe even 2. Like that's how crazy it could get. So it's not all but over for Texas A&M, but they're going to need to be the two of the better teams in the entire country if they get to at least that point, if they want to make it to the CFP.
Guess
So
only time's gonna be able to tell.
then we also had another upset, this time in the Big 12, as the Giant Killers, maybe you want to call them, these last couple of weeks. Kansas, after knocking off BYU the week prior, they knock off number 16 Colorado by the final of 37-21. They dominated this game from the get-go, Johnson. Devin Neal, 207 rushing yards in this game. Despite a great performance from Shedeur Sanders, their defense really struggled in this game entirely against the Jayhawks. And Colorado now, unfortunately, they do not even control their own destiny in terms of the Big 12 championship. I was actually looking at scenarios for the Big 12 championship, and the crazy thing about it, Johnson, is there are still technically 9 teams mathematically alive to reach this championship game going into this weekend.
256. You said this earlier. 256 possible
Yep.
scenarios here.
Yep. And the best scenarios right now are Arizona State and Iowa State. If they win this week, then they are going to be playing each other in the conference title game. Arizona State, sorry, not Arizona State, BYU, Colorado, right now do not control their own destinies in terms of the championship game. They're going to need teams like Arizona State and Iowa State probably to lose in that spot to even make it to the Big 12 title game and potentially get that last seed in the college football playoff. And if that isn't the case, then maybe look for the potential American champion, potentially Tulane, if they can get it done. They could get that last spot. And there's a good scenario there's a potential scenario that the Big 12 might not even have a team in the college football playoff this season.
That would be an absolute wild scenario, but it's definitely possible.
Yeah. Yeah, it's rough for Colorado because it looked like they were well on their way. They were finally playing some good football. And it looked like they were going to be well on their way to a Big 12 championship game and showcasing all of this talent on the national world for the college football playoff. And now they need Kansas State to beat Iowa State. They need BYU to lose to Houston, I believe they're playing. And they need Arizona State to lose to Arizona. Or they just at least need 2 of those 3 teams to lose, and they need to win. So their odds are very slim, it looks like, at my point. But
slim for everyone, pretty much.
The way the week this past week went, who knows? Maybe that does happen for the Buffaloes, and maybe they do get into the Big 12 championship game and keep themselves alive for a potential college football playoff berth. The final game we have of the week was Ohio State and Indiana, the big game of this past weekend, and it goes to the Buckeyes. And Ohio State, it looked like earlier on, early in the first quarter, Indiana was going back and forth with them. They actually went into the second quarter with the lead. But then the Buckeyes scored 31 unanswered points, and that's where the game got out of hand. Ohio State wins it 38-15 in the final. It's Indiana's first loss of the season. Does not hurt them, though, Johnson, in the college football playoff rankings. As of today, they are the number 10 team in the country, the 11th seed in the playoff standing. So it looks like as long as they beat Purdue on Saturday, they should be in the poll. They're one of the last 2 teams in. As long as they hold on to win that game, potentially, I don't want to say it's a guarantee, but if they win that game, it looks like they could potentially be in the college football playoff this season. And keep in mind, I got to check. I think they're still technically alive. They are. They're still technically alive in the Big Ten title game as well. They need to beat Purdue, and then they need Ohio State and Penn State to both lose this week in order to play Oregon in the Big Ten championship.
I mean, that's a whole lot of stuff right there. I don't think it's going to happen.
It's probably not going to happen, but you always got to throw out the scenario just in case. But yeah. Listen, commend Indiana for what they've done. To even get to this point, 10-1, potential CFP appearance. They'd be playing Penn State in the first round if the season ended today. I think at the end of the day, just to be in the position is where you at least would like to be in. Like, People wanted them out of the entire, like, they wanted them out of the top 12 completely after this game. And thankfully for them, they were at least able, they did lose in a not great fashion, but they are still alive. And now they just need to mend the course, get the win on Saturday, and hope that the committee doesn't potentially move them down in the rankings because of other games that are happening this weekend as well.
And
And there's,
I think that
yeah,
sums up our everything we really have for this week. I know it's not a very long schedule, but are there any other games you'd like to discuss before we move into our college football playoffs discussion?
no, let's go into the rankings itself because because these results that happened really impacted what happened now with the rankings and what we now see going into this upcoming week 14, the last game for pretty much every single team now this entirety of the season. So, going in order, I'll go from 1 to 13, Johnson, and I'll even include the 12 seed in a second as well. Yet Oregon still is number 1. Uh, Ohio State's number 2. They are the 5 seed. Texas number 3. They are the 2 seed. Penn State number 4. They are the 6 seed. Notre Dame now number 5. They are the 7. Miami, the 6th ranked team. They are the number 3 seed. Georgia number 7. They are an 8 seed. Tennessee now moves up to 8. They are a 9 seed. For the first time this season, SMU enters the top 10. They are number 9. They would be the 10th ranked seed. Indiana falls the number 10 team in the country. They are the 11th seed. Boise State still has one of the first round buys. They are the number 11th team in the country. They are a 4 seed. Clemson, number 12. They are the first team out of the playoff. Bama, number 13. They are the second team out. And Arizona State is at 16. They are currently the 12th seed as they are projected to potentially win the Big 12 championship. So the biggest thing about it, Johnson, is if Arizona State loses, then Tulane, who is right now projected to win the American championship, they would be the 12th seed potentially if they're able to win the American and obviously win on Thursday against Memphis. If they get that all done in Arizona State, and it also probably depends on who wins the Big 12, but Tulane might sneak into the college football playoff as the number 12 seed for this upcoming postseason.
That would be absolutely electric. Imagine having Tulane and Boise State.
I wish I had Boise State. I had Tulane at the beginning of the season. I wish I had Boise as well.
I mean, listen, it's just there's a lot of scenarios here, and we mentioned the teams kind of on the outside looking in. I think there's going to be a bunch of kids that there's going to be there's going to be some big shakeups over the next 2 weeks, and if we want to
Yeah.
go into our picks, I'm going to start explaining some of my logic behind this too.
So I'll give you one thing for scenario wise for this week. So I mentioned what happened in the SEC. The winner of Texas A&M will play Georgia in the championship game. The ACC, SMU is going to play either Miami if Miami beats Syracuse, or if Clemson beats South Carolina and Miami wins, then Clemson. Oh, actually, no, I'm wrong. Clemson's playing a non-conference. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase. If Miami loses to Syracuse, then it's going to be Clemson playing SMU in the championship game. And then the Big 12, there's so many scenarios. I really can't go over it. Basically, Arizona State and BYU, I believe, or Iowa State, I should say. Arizona State and BYU have the best odds, it looks like, to play each other in the championship game. And if that's the case, then the winner of that game more than likely gets into the CFP. If you're a team like Tulane, you need either Boise State, SMU maybe, or maybe not SMU. I should say Arizona State, Boise State, or even Iowa State. If you can have two of those 3 teams lose, then you're still in a pretty good spot as a American champion potentially to make the college football playoff this season. So I'll leave it at that before we go into the upcoming mushing hour, Johnson. Which do you want to talk about it?
No, not really.
Maybe the first time in our entirety
It
of
is.
picking that we've had a full fade.
It is, and that's not very good.
Yeah, it's not. It's
I'm not
not.
going to really say much more about that.
Well, I'll leave it at that. I think. Let's just say there were 8 games last week, and if there's a full fade, yeah, you know the record. So let's go into this upcoming slate, Johnson. A big slate for week number 14, the final week for a bunch of these teams before they head into conference championship week. So we'll see how these teams will uh, go into their last games. And let's start off on Friday with Georgia Tech going on the road into Athens to take on number 7 Georgia. The Bulldogs are a 19.5 point favorite, over under set at 53.5. Looks like the Dogs are pretty much all but locked into the CFP, Johnson. Even, they obviously got to win this game. They lose this game, then it's really catastrophic, and they're going to have to win the SEC championship. But they're already locked into the SEC championship game. What do you think is going to happen on Friday?
Just give me the over. That's the only thing I know in my life. Just, again, fade me, please, but just give me the over.
I will go with Georgia to cover. If this game was at Georgia Tech, maybe I could see them playing it closer. Yeah, I just don't see a scenario where Georgia Tech keeps this one close. Good season regardless for the Yellow Jackets. They're going to make a bowl game, but Georgia's just they're playing they're playing inspired football ever since their last loss a couple weeks ago. So give me the Dogs to cover in this game. What do we got on Saturday, Johnson? Big slate on Saturday.
Yeah, we have number 6 Miami going into the cold, but not really because they're going to be in the Carrier Dome. I don't care if it's the JMA
It's the Carrier Dome. I believe
it's the Carrier Dome.
I agree with you.
We have Miami going into Syracuse. Syracuse at home. Despite this, Miami is an 11-point road favorite. Over under slate at 6-7.5. Again, give me the over. Neither of these teams play defense.
No, they do not. No, they do not. I was telling you, Syracuse just gave up 24 to UConn their last game, so that could be. They don't play defense whatsoever. I mean, we would play the biggest spoiler of all time if we could pull this off. It's been a nice season for Syracuse. They are 8-3 right now, Johnson. I mean, the fact that they have potential to win 10 games this season, I would take it. I wouldn't even be mad if they won 9 games. I'll tell you what, this is probably a homer pick. I'm gonna go with Q's to cover the 11, and I'm also gonna go with the over. It's probably wild to take an over of 67.5, but Miami can't play defense. Syracuse can't play defense. You got 2 solid quarterbacks playing in this game. I do expect a lot of points to be scored between these 2 teams on Saturday at the Carrier Dome. I agree with you on that sentence as well. How about this game, Johnson? This is a monster game this weekend that could determine maybe if you're a team like Indiana, this is a game I'm concerned about because this could be a game that maybe could take them out of the CFP because of them being one of those last at-large bids. Number 15, South Carolina, going on the road to take on number 12, Clemson. Clemson, a 2.5-point favorite, over under set at 49.5 for this game.
All right, and here's where I'm going. I'm going South Carolina to win this game outright. So give me South Carolina here, but you give me the points. So South Carolina plus 2.5 here. And it's going to banish Clemson to outside the
Shadow
CFP.
realm.
So I think
yeah.
I wanted to say Shadow Realm, but Clemson is it's going to be done after this. But South Carolina wins, and they're on the outs, and South Carolina is one step closer to making the CFP.
Yeah, I kind of don't want Clemson to win. Like, I really have loved what South Carolina has been doing as of late. Like, I love their team in general. Like, you have a solid quarterback in Sellers. I like Raheem Sanders, their running back as well. They've been looking great as of late. Clemson, had that bad game against Louisville. They played all right the last couple of weeks as well. It hasn't been anything of note. But as I mentioned, if Syracuse beats Miami, then Clemson's in the ACC title game. So that's at least the biggest thing for them. Right now, they are the first team out of the CFP, so they're hoping that one of these teams above them loses. And if obviously Miami loses, then they're in the championship game. They could very much well control their destiny as to getting a potential bye in the CFP this year. Just to avoid a mush, because I want South Carolina to win this game, I'm going to go with the over in this game as well. I could see a lot of points being scored between these 2 teams. A very hated rivalry between the 2. Give me the over between South Carolina and Clemson.
And the next game we have the game. It doesn't really feel like the game this year.
Does not feel
Michigan
like
on the road into number 2 Ohio State. They are a whopping 21-point favorite at home. 42.5 is the slated over under. Call me crazy. Michigan will cover. Michigan plus 21. Michigan is a 3 touchdown underdog, but they're going to cover.
Hey, they scored 50 points their last game. Did that do anything for you?
No, not really.
No, it doesn't do anything for me either. Uh, God, like what do you even like? This is such a rough game to pick from. Hey, you know what? I'll give you this, Michigan. You got Bryce Underwood coming to you, so at least you got a quarterback coming, right?
Yep, you got quarterback. It's something they desperately need since the absence of J.J. McCarthy.
You wanna talk about how they got that quarterback?
Nope,
Nothing shady about it, right?
nope, nope,
No,
nope.
no, all clean.
Yep,
God, if you're an LSU fan, you gotta be fuming at what's been going on with
go
your not only
Tigers.
with the season but with this news as well.
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers. Um, God, you know what? Give me the over. I might be. This might be a common trend for me this entire week. I'm gonna go with the over as well. I think Ohio State very well could maybe put up the entirety of points as well. I'm at the point where if Ohio State puts up 30, like 5, all I need is Michigan to put up 10 points. I think they could do that. So give me the over in this game. Next game we have is number 8 Tennessee at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt has already seen an big upset this year for them. Can they do it potentially again against an in-state rival, Johnson? They are a 10.5 point favorite, that being the Volunteers on the road, and the over/under set at 48.5 for this game.
Ooh, give me Vandy plus 10.5 here.
I knew it earlier. This was the game, right?
This isn't the game. I'm thinking South Carolina did not
Oh,
Clemson out.
South Carolina was the game. Okay,
Yeah.
that's fair. That's fair.
I think, listen, if Vandy wins this game, that's even crazier.
They could. They could.
But I'm picking another game later, too. To kind of, I'm picking a lot of games later. But give me Vandy plus 10.5. They've been playing, this is the best football they've probably had in 20 years. So give me Vandy.
I hate to do it, Vandy. I really do. I really want to take them to cover this game as well. Screw it. I'm going to do it. I hate it. I kind of think Tennessee's going to win. But I will go Vandy plus 10.5 as well to cover. As you mentioned, it'd be crazy if they even can win this game. If they win this game, Tennessee's done entirely. They have no chance whatsoever. They have to win this game just to even have a hope. So give me the Volunteers to win, but they don't cover. I got Vandy to cover this
Oh,
game.
I said 20 years for Vandy. Give me maybe 10. They were good 10 years ago, right? When James Franklin was there for a little bit.
Define good.
Ranked?
No.
No, it had to be ranked when James Franklin.
I don't think they were ranked.
No, because they won two. They won a bowl game or two, didn't they?
They might have won like 8 games, maybe something like that. I don't know if they were ranked.
I think they were ranked at some point.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe my memory like is gone from me for that. But I don't think they were ranked during Franklin's era. They were playing better than obviously what they were before. But I don't know if they were ranked. I don't know about that. I could be wrong. Could be completely wrong about that.
Someone let us know.
Yeah, definitely someone let us know. That's our next game, Johnson.
We have the Iron Bowl. Auburn at number 13, Alabama here. Alabama is a home favorite of 11.5 points. 52.5 is the slated over/under. Nothing on the line here, just pure spite, as one of our listeners told us earlier today. With that being said, out of pure spite, Auburn will cover but not win. Auburn plus 11.5.
Hey, Auburn's firing for a bowl game right now. They win, they're bowl eligible.
Yeah.
No. Bama's fighting for their playoff life. We already know that. I'm gonna go with Alabama to cover minus 11.5. I mean, they're absolutely furious after what happened on Saturday. Like they played poorly. Now they're the second team out of the entire poll. Like they need help, and they're gonna need to make a case at this point. So I think if you just go out there and just beat down your rival, that makes at least somewhat of a statement. But you still need teams around you to help you. So I'll have the Tide to cover, but their chances to make the CFP are growing slimmer and slimmer by the minute and the hour since this new poll came out. So we'll see.
What do we got next, Nick? What's going to wrap us home? Well, take us home.
Biggest game of the week, Johnson. It will determine who plays Georgia in the SEC championship game. It's an eliminator game as well for the Aggies, as number 3 Texas goes on the road to Kyle Field to take on number 20 Texas A&M. Texas on the road is a 5.5 point favorite. The over-under set at 48.5. Who is going to the SEC championship game, Johnson?
Texas A&M. The Aggies are gonna get it done. I'm taking Texas A&M plus 5.5. I think they're gonna win it here.
You think they're going to win?
I think they're gonna win it here, but you give me 5.5 points. I'm gonna take 5.5 points.
Well, this would be a big game for Texas because a lot of people have been complaining about their schedule and as if they are potentially a big team, right? If you look at Texas's resume, people were comparing it to an Indiana resume because they haven't really beat anyone big this entire season. God, this is such a tough game to pick for.
Do you know how much tickets are to get into this game? By the way,
Gotta be over is it over 200?
oh, it's well over 200. So I'm gonna give you a couple before we make your pick here.
Yeah.
This is the gravity of this game for the listeners at home. So Purdue at Indiana, tickets start at $35, right? Good game.
Yep.
Florida at Florida State.
Is that a good
They
game?
start at 146. Cool, right?
Wait. Florida and Florida State's how much?
146.
Why is it that much money?
Well, I'm going here somewhere.
Is it in Gainesville?
It's in Gainesville.
Why is it that much money?
No, I'm sorry. It's in Tallahassee.
Why is it that much money? Have they not seen Florida State play football?
All right. Listen.
I know, we're going off track. I know, we're going off track.
This is via Vivid Seats, by the way.
Okay.
But a couple more things. South Carolina at Clemson, 156, starting at 156.
That makes sense.
Tennessee at Vanderbilt, starting at 239.
That kind of makes that. You know what? That makes sense too. You know what? I can make a case for that.
So, what do you think is going to cost more money? The game or Texas A&M? What do you think costs more money?
It's got, I guess. The game. Probably Texas A&M because Michigan sucks.
Right. So, how much do you think Michigan at Ohio State is?
Okay, I say I might be less than the Tennessee Vanderbilt game. Am I right?
You are correct. Yeah, you're on the nose with that.
Is it in the same ballpark as South Carolina?
It's in the same
Clemson?
ballpark. It is in the no, it's more than South Carolina Clemson, but it's in the ballpark of Tennessee at Vanderbilt.
200?
227.
227.
Tickets to sit in the upper end of Kyle Field that holds over 110,000. You're talking. I've been to Kyle Field. It is a big stadium. So to sit in the 400s in Kyle Field, row 29, section 419 starts at $525.
Oh my god!
And that is before fees. So if you want to see this game, you're spending a week's pay to have two people there.
That's like on par with World Series tickets that were happening a month ago.
It really is. This is how big this game is for the state of Texas. So
it makes sense.
Before you make your pick, this is how big this game is for Texas. No,
it makes complete sense. I mean, they're both fighting for a college football playoff berth. They're both fighting for an SEC title berth, and they're both they're fighting for bragging rights because before they were in the SEC, Johnson. This was a long-standing rivalry in the Big 12. And now that they're both in the SEC, that rivalry is now renewed. So that is at least one of the better things that we've seen from this new conference realignment, that this rivalry is now back between these two teams because they put on some great showings throughout their entirety of their program's history. So to get this back is great between these two teams. Now, I hate to do it to you. Maybe you'll be okay with me taking this pick just because I'm going against it. I'm going to go with Texas minus 5.5. I'm going to go with Texas
okay with
minus 5.5. I'm at the point where, you know what? I'll just take the 1 point. I was thinking about the over as well. I'm just going to stick with the 1. It comes down to realistically, is Texas going to play a lot better in this game on the road? Like, they've looked kind of shaky the last couple weeks. They haven't really been blowing any teams out. So maybe that is a concern going into this game. But I think with everything on the line, you're renewing this rivalry. I'm going to just pick Texas to cover and win. But I could very much well see Texas A&M getting this win and just being like, you know what? Our season's on the line today. We have to win this game. We lose, we're not playing the college football playoff. We might get a New Year's Six bowl or something. Who knows? We have to win this game for everything. And then who knows, Johnson, if that's even enough? Because, like I said, if they win this game, will the committee put them in the top 12? Maybe, but maybe not. They might not be as lenient enough to do that because, you know Texas is still going to be a top 12 team even if they lose this game. So, I don't know. Like I said, this is a big game. This is a huge game, a huge rivalry, and this is why you love college football for moments like this. Saturday's going to
Yeah.
be a really, really, really fun
Yeah.
Saturday
I
to
mean,
watch some
listen,
of these
I
games.
think if they win, it's 11-12, but we'll find out.
I don't think Texas will drop 8 spots if they lose.
Then what are you going to say, 7-12 maybe?
I would say if Texas loses this game, they
It's
drop
on
to
the road too, so.
I say 7 or 8. I say they drop 4 or 5.
And you think A&M would go up 8 spots?
I say A&M since they're 20. I think they go up to I think the highest they would go up to is 12. The more likely is where they
It's
go to. It's
14?
13, 14. Yeah,
Okay. I'm okay with that. So
that's what I'm saying.
that's fine.
They're not. If they win, I still don't think that's going to be enough for them to make the CFP. They have to win the SEC title at this point.
Oh yeah, I'm not denying that. I am definitely not denying that.
That is their only hope to make it at this point, which sucks. But that's the reality of things now with their previous losses to teams like South Carolina and now after this past weekend in Auburn. So they have no other choice but to come out and win this game. Not only against Texas, but potentially against Georgia as well. So we'll see if they can do it. But any final thoughts, Johnson, before we wrap this one up?
No, just wishing everyone a happy Thanksgiving.
Absolutely. Happy
Once
Thanksgiving.
again.
Once again, yeah. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone's friends and family. And, I went on a little bit of a rant the last show about Thursday's games. At least, Johnson, there's no ranting for this one because I'm very excited to see how this will all unfold on Saturday. After Saturday,
there's a Thanksgiving game, by the way.
Hey, you know what? Memphis Tulane's not a bad game.
Guess how much it is on Thanksgiving night, by the way.
There's no. Is it really? Is it over? There's no way it's over $100, right?
Oh, you're not even close.
Yeah, right.
$2.
Oh God,
$2 to get in the gate.
Both teams have 9 wins. They've been pretty good, but it is.
Yeah, listen, it's Thanksgiving night.
Yeah,
if you're a family that does it, 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and you're done by 7 p.m.
If you're in the state of Louisiana, yeah. If you're in the state of Louisiana, why not? For $2, I'd go.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, if I was living in Louisiana, I'd say why not? I got to go watch my potential American champion, potential
dark horse.
Playoff. Yeah, they've been my dark horse all season. I put Tulane at the beginning of the year. I'm praying that they can do it. They're one step away. They just need some help as well. If they need the Big 12 champion to not be in. That's pretty much what it comes down to. So we'll see if that happens. But yeah, as Johnson said, happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Hopefully everyone enjoys their holiday week upcoming this week. And hopefully for these college football teams, they can enjoy their Saturday and go into this next college football ranking show next Tuesday, hopefully in a good position to make the first ever 12-team college football playoff. So we'll see what happens next week when we recap week number 14 in the college football world. But that's going to do it for this week's edition of the All Gas No Break Sports Show. An unbelievably wild week number 13 showing us 4 big upsets, 3 in the SEC, 1 in the Big 12. Down goes Alabama, down goes Ole Miss, down goes Texas A&M. A&M still is alive, but they're going to need to win their last 2 games. If they get to 2 games, Ole Miss and Bama need some help if they want to have any hope, and we'll have to see if they get that help on Saturday. A big slate on Saturday. Big games like South Carolina and Clemson. We have Auburn and Bama, Notre Dame, USC, Texas A&M. The list can go on and on. We'll see how it all unfolds on Saturday afternoon going into Saturday night. This has been Nicholas Pavone, joined alongside by my co-host Andrew Johnson for the All Gas No Break Sports Show. Have a great rest of your week and enjoy your Thanksgiving holiday.